Let's begin. Coming and finding a comfortable seat on your mat. Crossing your legs in front of you. Resting your hands on your knees. Palms facing up or down. Finding a nice long spine. Reaching through the crown of your head. Letting the shoulders sink down your back. Beginning to notice your breathing. Taking nice, deep, long inhales and even longer exhales. As we begin to really come into our body. Today we'll be practicing Yin Yoga. And the first biggest difference between Yin Yoga and my usual vinyasa classes is that we'll be holding the poses for a very long time, about 3 minutes each. We'll be moving very, very slowly and mindfully throughout this whole class. And when I call a pose, we'll first come and find the shape of it. And from there, we'll find the edge of uncomfortableness, of sensation. Definitely backing away from pain, sharp feelings, just finding the edge. And then when we find that, we'll work towards stillness. Finding a place that's comfortable, that you can completely relax into and be still. So we'll be allowing a lot of time in this class for space and quiet as we sit with each pose. So you really have time to turn inward and look inward and be. So we'll take another few deep breaths here in our seated pose. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Taking one more breath in. And then on our exhale, slowly moving into butterfly, bringing the soles of our feet together to touch, finding length through the spine, moving mindfully, reaching tall through the crown of the head, and then folding forward over the feet, letting the head hang. Really relaxing into the pose. Maybe your hands hold on to your feet, or walking your forearms and hands out in front. Finding your breath. So in Yin Yoga, we'll be focusing on the deep tissues of the body. In Yang practices like vinyasa, we're focusing more on the muscles there. So here we'll be focusing on the ligaments and the connective tissues. Everything deep, deep. And this focus really enhances the flow of energy throughout the whole body. Continue taking deeper and slower breaths. And really relaxing into those hips. Seeing if you can find a little bit more length in your spine. Seeing if you can fold a touch deeper. And then taking a couple final breaths here. And as you inhale, we'll slowly come out of butterfly. And as you exhale, begin to make your way into child's pose. Slowly, slowly, mindfully moving. Noticing the difference you're feeling in your hips from butterfly. As you come into child's, stretching your arms out long, resting your forehead on the mat. Arms are long in front of you or maybe down by your sides. Finding the most comfortable position for you, with your knees close together or as wide apart as you'd like. Letting yourself sink deeply into this pose. And finding stillness. Focusing on breathing all the way down into the bottom of your lungs, feeling that lower back expand. And then exhaling all the way out. Really finding deeper breaths in this child's pose. And though we're trying to find stillness in all of these poses today, that's not a requirement. If there's uncomfortable feelings or pain or anything, you're of course free to adjust the pose and find something more comfortable. Taking one last deep breath in here. And as you exhale, we'll begin to move into Sphinx pose. So coming to lay down on your stomach, extending your legs behind you, resting your forearms on the mat, elbows directly under your shoulders, reaching your fingers long. As you inhale, finding a slight back bend, pushing down through the forearms and the hands to squeeze the shoulder blades gently, arching up through the back, lifting the chin. Sphinx. And as you hold the Sphinx pose, noticing how your body's feeling, how the hips are feeling from the previous poses, noticing how the back is feeling in this pose, finding a release, being sure to not put too much pressure on the spine. Again, we're looking for the edge. We're looking for just a mild sensation. And continuing to breathe. While Sphinx is a gentle back bend, it might become more intense as our minutes progress. So remembering to breathe into this back bend. And back off if it has become too much. And taking one last breath in here in Sphinx. And as you exhale, we'll begin to slowly move into pigeon pose on the right side. Bringing your right knee to your right wrist, extending the left leg out long behind you, pointing through the toes, or if your shin is parallel to your knee, flexing through the foot. Finding your center. Your weight should be centered over your hips, not falling to one side. The back foot is straight, not sickling inwards. As you inhale to lift the chest, and then exhale to fold forward over the front leg. We know this pose as pigeon pose in our vinyasa classes. But in Yin Yoga, some poses are called by different names. So in Yin Yoga, we call this pose swan. Continuing to breathe space into the hips here. And with every exhale, see if you can fold a little bit deeper, finding a little bit more space in that right hip. Relaxing a little bit more. Keeping the breath nice and slow. Taking one final inhale here and letting it all out. And on your next inhale, beginning to walk your hands back up towards your body, lifting your torso, lifting the chest. And slowly switch sides, extending the right leg back, and bringing the left knee to the left wrist. Pointing through the left toes, or flexing through the foot if your shin is parallel to the mat. Making sure that the back toes are straight and not sickling inwards. And as you inhale, straightening the spine, lengthening through the crown of your head. And then exhaling and folding over the front leg. Noticing if this side is any different than the other. And breathing space into the hip. Noticing if any emotions come up in this pose or in any of the other poses. We often hold emotions in the hips, so it's not uncommon for you to start feeling different things while we release all of the tension in the hips. If anything is coming up, take notice. And as you exhale, release everything into the pose. As you fold a little bit closer to the mat, finding a little bit more space in the hip. And on your next inhale, begin to walk your hands closer to your body, lifting up the chest, moving slowly and mindfully. And as you exhale, we'll begin to move so that both legs are out long in front of you, sitting down, flexing through the feet. Maybe moving the flesh away from the sits bones to find a more comfortable seat. And as you inhale, bring the arms up long overhead, finding length through the whole spine, through the fingertips. And as you exhale, folding forward, bringing the hands to the thighs or the shins, or to grab the bottoms of the feet. Option to let the spine curl and the head drop. Or on every inhale to find a little bit more length. And on every exhale to fold a little bit deeper into the pose. Not trying to force anything here, but let yourself sink a little bit further and relax a little bit deeper. And as we remain in this pose, noticing how it feels to let the hamstrings and calves stretch for such an extended period of time. Continuing to let your breath deepen. And taking one more deep breath in and letting it all out. As you inhale, beginning to slowly walk your hands back up your legs, lifting the chest. And on an exhale, begin to slowly lower yourself back down to the mat, lying on your back. And then as you make it to your back, inhale, bringing the knees into the chest. And exhale to drop the knees over to the left for a supine twist. Extending your right arm out long. Gazes over your right fingertips. Left arm resting on your knees. Letting yourself really relax into the twist. Closing the eyes. And breathing deeper and slower. And allowing yourself to sink into the deep silence, the stillness, and the quietness. And in this reclined position, really noticing how your whole body's feeling. Noticing how each pose has affected you. Noticing what staying in this relaxed twist does for your body, for your spine, for your shoulders. As you continue breathing. And then on your next inhale, slowly bringing your knees back through center, through the center of your chest and switching sides. Dropping both knees over to the right, extending the left arm out long. Gaze over your fingertips. Of course, your eyes can still be closed. Right hand coming to your knees to rest gently. Noticing how it feels to twist to the other side. Breathing slow and deep. Breathing all the way down into the base of the lungs, filling the belly. And exhaling slowly out. Once again, noticing any emotions that have come up, any thoughts, what you've learned in this practice, how this practice has taken you inside. Allowing space for those emotions, for those thoughts, for those realizations, and accepting them. And on your next inhale, bringing the knees back into the center of the chest slowly. Hugging onto your knees for a moment as you adjust from the twist. Taking a nice deep breath in. And on your exhale, coming into Shavasana, letting all the limbs back down to the mat, spreading the feet and the hands as wide apart as you'd like, taking up as much space as you want today. You are allowed to take up space, both here on the mat and in the world. And letting yourself relax, snuggling the shoulder blades underneath you. Letting go of any further tension in the body. And letting go of the breath. As we let ourselves just be for the next few minutes. And exhaling as you come back into the room around you. Beginning to wiggle your fingers and toes. Bringing gentle movements back into the body. And then gently rolling over onto one side, using your arm as a pillow. And keeping your eyes closed all the way, push yourself up into a seated position. Resting your palms on your knees. Spine reaches nice and long. And as we bring our hands in prayer to the center of our chest, we think back on this practice and how our body feels now, and how our mind feels now. Thank you for joining me in practice today. Namaste.